Previously, the construction of space stations, tall skyscrapers, and hydroelectric power plants was beyond our comprehension. We didn't fully grasp the principles governing these marvels. However, around 300 years ago, Isaac Newton was inspired by the sight of a falling apple, leading to a groundbreaking epiphany about the workings of our world. This genius, while walking in his garden, formulated the universal law of gravity and the three laws of motion. In essence, Newton laid the groundwork for modern science and technology. It is remarkable how everything we observe today is, in one way or another, linked to his discoveries. Interestingly, his moment of inspiration is a testament to how creative ideas can emerge spontaneously. Newton is not alone in this regard. Many recognized geniuses throughout history have stumbled upon their groundbreaking ideas by chance. For instance, Steve Jobs often conceived his innovative concepts while taking leisurely walks around the campus. Albert Einstein pondered his theories while playing the violin or engaging in sailing. The great composer Mozart found inspiration while riding a horse. True creativity dislikes dusty offices and avoids brainstorming sessions. The more you need to come up with something creative to birth an idea, the more difficult it becomes. Coercion doesn't work. Fortunately, since 2001, we've understood what does work well. It's very unusual, but creativity usually kicks in when the brain is not focused on solving a task. Typically, to measure neuron activity during work, scientists use tomograph. It's quite simple. Activity is higher in those areas of the brain where neurons are more active. Brain activity is lower where neurons are less active. In 1997, scientist Gordon Shaw measured brain activity while focusing on a task and was greatly surprised by the results. It turns out that when focusing on performing a task, some brain areas reducing their activity, while these same areas increase their activity during rest, when there was no task. It seemed like complete nonsense. It's not surprising that the scientific community refused to acknowledge such work. However, in 2001, another expert, Marcus Raichle, repeated the experiment and explained why this happens. It turns out that our brain has three different networks that switch on and off depending on how we think. These three networks are mutually exclusive. If one is activated, the other two are deactivated. The central executive network is the focus mode. It activates when you're actively thinking about something. You're focused on something. The default mode network is the brain's default operating mode. There is no focus. You're not thinking about anything in particular, and your mind passively wanders. The salience network is a sort of switch, an intermediate mode where the brain decides whether to activate the focus mode or the rest mode. The central executive network operates when you are solving an equation, reading a book, playing basketball, or surfing the internet. In this mode, there is focus, but creativity is absent. The default mode network operates when your consciousness wanders and is unoccupied. For example, when you are running monotonously, lying on the beach, or listening to calm music. In this mode, creativity solutions and epiphanies are possible. The salience network operates when you find yourself in a new place and decide whether to relax or concentrate. It's a kind of switch and an intermediate mode. So, if you need some creativity idea or solution, the worst thing you can do is to actively ponder over it. It doesn't work that way. All you need to do is activate default mode network, and it will do everything for you. Because in passive mode, our brain can process much more information than in active mode. And here you might ask, why? Because we are social animals. This is our species-specific trait and our strengths. We live in large social groups. But the larger the group, the more information needs to be processed to predict others' behavior. It's a matter of survival, gossip, who is a friend, who is a foe, hierarchies, interest groups, connections, and relationships. There's a lot of important information that is constantly changing. However, unfortunately, our brain's resources are limited. It's impossible to focus attention simultaneously on a large number of objects. The capacity isn't enough. What to do? Defocus your attention and process information slowly, circulating it in a passive mode. That's how the default mode network appeared. A large piece can be swallowed at once, but if you chew it into small pieces and digest it gradually, then it all works out. Essentially, this is a distribution of the brain's computational power to solve a complex problem in parts. What we can't solve quickly, we solve slowly. summing up the computational power of the brain. This is the secret of genius scientists. If you understand how it works, you can solve very complex problems and generate unique ideas. Well, if it's all so simple, then why are there so few Einsteins, Newtons and Jobs around? Guys, because to use it, you need to answer 3 questions. What, when, and how. Topic, time, and method. Let's start with the topic. To get a useful result, you need to load a useful topic into your brain. If your central executive network is constantly processing internet gossip, new games, parties, and Netflix, then a useful result is impossible. If you need a cool idea for business, then you need to load other people's business ideas and solutions. If you need to solve complex problems and equations, then you need to load mathematics. The deeper you are immersed in a topic, the more you are focused on something. The more your brain will later process it in the default mode network. Be selective. What you focus your attention on now affects what your brain will process in passive mode later. Next, time. The more time you invest in a certain topic, the better your results will be. The problem is that the default mode network can only be activated 23 minutes after the central executive network has been deactivated. And it's constantly activated because social networks, movies, news, music, and needless advertising accompany us always and everywhere throughout the day. Most people simply don't have time for contemplation in the default mode network, because their attention is always forcibly activated. Find time to disconnect from the information flow and be in silence. As long as you consume others, you won't be able to create your own. The third point is method. How to activate your default mode network faster. For this, you need to add some monotonous activity that doesn't require thinking. Jogging, fishing, ironing clothes, painting a wall, or taking a walk in nature. Such light activity distracts your brain from focusing on thoughts. They begin to wander randomly, processing the problem you loaded earlier. Einstein liked to play the violin, and Newton to walk in the garden among the apple trees. So there are options, but I promised you a specific scheme. You have it in 3 stages. Generally, a working scheme that suits most people looks like this. First stage. Load the task into the central executive network for 30 to 60 minutes. Be sure to use recordings as a brain amplifier. Analyze and record the main ideas and connections between them. Read, think, record. The second stage. Go out into nature and walk in silence for an hour. No one is around. Don't make a special effort. Let your consciousness passively wander through the material loaded into it. The third stage. Return to the focused mode and write down all the thoughts that came to you during the walk. Practice this regularly. Click here to watch my next video about the meaning of life, which you won't hear about anywhere else.